You're invited to pretty with me at my pretty party. It's your favorite auntie. Keep your pity, give me the party. I gotta look good, so I'm gonna be tardy. What's up, my teacups and teapots? It's your favorite auntie. I am back with another video. For those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. My name is Joy Moya. I am your favorite auntie, and I am so happy that you are here. All right, so let's get into today's video. Okay, so there will be a space in time where you will be unsure of yourself. You will begin to question you know your life and things that are going on because of the circumstances and the delays that you may have or come across. That's normal. It's completely normal. It's Don't worry about that. All right? So what I want you to understand, that if you give it space and if you give it time, that's where you will find your answers. You'll find the answers to all your questions with pause. Give it some space, give it some time. Okay? All right? Give it some space, give it some time. Because in that particular moment, you'll understand, the reasons why you shouldn't react so quickly. Like, if you put space and time in between a situation or a circumstance, you're more likely to have a better outcome by responding to valid information versus personal emotion, if that makes sense. So let's talk about the people in the Bible who benefited from space and time. Now, right off the bat, you would, I hope, think about Moses, right? Although he had a lot of space and time in between him, he still questioned, like, did God really say, you know, what he said? Did God really call me to do what he called me to do? Right? Because he was in the desert for like 40 years. Right? Right? That's a long time to be in one place. It'll mess with your mind, right? Like, it's the same place for a very long time. Right? And it'll make you question, your common senses. It'll make you question, like, your level of maturity, your intellect. It'll make you have so many questions. Did God really call me? Did God really say what he said? It's been 40 years and there has been no change. There has been no change in scenery. There has been no elevation. There has been no progress, right? Another person we can find in the Bible who was uncertain or unsure would be Joseph. Joseph asked, "Why am I working for Pharaoh?" Again, Joseph got to a point and was like, this is not the vision God showed me. Joseph had gone through so much, right? He went through a whole lot and was like, this is not where I thought I would be. This is not, the vision or the dream that I saw, right? So Joseph began to question, did God really give me that vision? Right? Because you would think that if God gives you a vision, if God, calls you to do something, you would think like, hey, God, you called me to do this. You showed me this. So being who you are, God, I'm expecting, or I would suppose that, to do what you asked me to do would come without delay. It would come without what's the word I want to use? Gosh, my words, like, they just leave me. It would come without delay, and it would come without without delay, and it will come without. I can't believe I'm having a brain freeze. I'm going to attribute that to being almost 50. But then again, I can't do that because there are like almost 50-year-olds who are like so smart, so intelligent, and so dynamic with their train of thought. So, I'm gonna say that it will come without delay and come without rebuttal. Like there won't be any backlash, or there won't be any tug of war with what you called me to do and what you gave me vision to do. Now this is Joseph, because he was thrown in the pit, he was lied on, he was put in jail, right? And then he was sent to work for Pharaoh. So a lot, Joseph went through a lot, pretty much. So I mean, you got to understand why he would begin to question, right, and be unsure, right? And then we move on to Esther. Esther asked, why are both my parents deceased? Now I can relate to this one because, you know, both of my parents are deceased, and when I needed to go back home, I didn't have a home to go back to, right? So I had to figure that thing out on my own, right? So, in the case of Esther, luckily she had, you know, a relative to adopt her. Mordecai looked out for her like, you know, she was his own daughter. So that's how that particular story went. But we'll dive more into that throughout the video. But anyway, so I can understand her being unsure, because you would think that, you know, if God has this great calling for your life, or this, you know, dynamic vision for your life, then surely, you know, you would have the support that you think you're supposed to have, being your parents, because your parents are the first foundation that you know, are aware of, right? But Esther didn't have that. She didn't have her parents. I don't have my parents, and I still got to go through this thing and do what God called me to do. You know, but you will too. What you will understand is that you don't need who you think you will need, right? God would put people in your life to make sure that you accomplish what he called you to do. All right? Okay, so yeah, don't worry about, you know, being unsure in that regard. All right, so let's move on to Naomi. Naomi asked Ruth, why are you still with me? I have no more sons. I'm well off in my age. I'm not going to have any more sons. And even if I did, you know, have a son, would you wait until that son got old enough for you to marry and, you know, have a life with? This is Naomi asking Ruth, like, why are you still here? Naomi was unsure. She was uncertain as to why Ruth was still around. After all that Naomi lost, Ruth was still there. Now you will go through some things, and you know, your answers will be in who is still there and what they are doing. Give it some space and give it some time, right? And then we move on to Jesus, right? Jesus asked his disciples, why are you still here when others left? Now, if anybody is supposed to know, it's Jesus, right? If anybody is supposed to be sure and certain, it's Jesus, right? You will no doubt go through some things that will make you question everything. And it's okay. It's okay to not be sure. It's okay to question. It's okay to do a self-check. It's okay to review and do an audit of the people, places, surrounding. It's okay. It's okay to do all that. But what I want you to consider, okay, What I want you to consider is that you have something. You have something to be sure about. Well, what is that, favorite auntie? I'm so glad you asked. I am so glad you asked. All right. So, in each of these cases, right, they all had something to assure them that they were able to see, hear, and feel, right? We're diving into some of those common senses that we're supposed to have that not everybody uses, okay? All right. All right, so let's get into it. Moses had direct presence with God and heard God, heard the instruction and heard guidance, right? Joseph had on the job training. Although the scenery didn't look like his vision, he felt every experience, which better prepared him for the position of leadership. So he wouldn't do what others had done to him because he knew what it felt like, right? Esther felt support and security, which prepared her to provide just that for her people. You following? All right. Naomi had the wisdom Ruth needed. Tell me she didn't, because Ruth went with Naomi to Naomi's hometown, and Ruth met Boaz and had a baby and was set for the rest of her life. Naomi told Ruth how to get Boaz. Ruth needed to know that. Right? And then Jesus. Well, I honestly don't think Jesus was unsure about anything. In fact, I think Jesus was proposing the questions to the disciples so that they could do observation and so that they could do a self-check. That's just my opinion. Yeah, but your favorite auntie wants to let you know that there will be a moment. There will be a moment in your life where you begin to be unsure, where you begin to question, because the delay of what you want and what you envision will cause you to question. Moses, 40 years, that's a long time, right? And then the circumstances will cause you to question. We talk about Joseph, going through all that he went through and working for someone that he didn't see in a vision, like he saw himself in leadership, right? And then you get to the Esther and Naomi, and they had to feel. They had to feel, right? The space and the time to get understanding. So, I hope that helps you. I hope that helps you. I really do. I hope you understand that, it's okay to question. It's okay to doubt. It's okay to be unsure. But one thing is for certain, is that if you allow space and time, everything will begin to align and add up just as God said. Just as God showed you. And just as God called you. Everything will begin to line up. Or align. Yeah. That part. All right, my teacups and teapots, that's all I have for you today. Make sure that you like this video so that we can get the algorithm up. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss a video. And also, for some reason, I don't know why God won't let y'all hit that Cashapp, but hit that Cashapp, okay? Nah, but I am going to put my Cash App in the link, but it's the money sign keeping pretty. Capitalize the K and capitalize the P. All right. I'm going to put that in the description box as well. All right, my favorite teacups and teapots. It's your favorite auntie. And until next time.